All right, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about a crisis that is literally shaking the foundations of one of the biggest economies on the planet. This is a story about broken dreams, about entire ghost cities, and a massive rebellion that's got the government, well, let's just say they're on high alert. So, we're jumping right into the deep end here because right now, hundreds of thousands of Chinese citizens are doing something pretty radical. They are just collectively refusing to pay their mortgages. And why? Because the homes they bought, they haven't even been built yet. And this thing has just blown up. I mean, what started out as a problem in one city has now spread to over 300 unfinished housing projects all across the country. And you gotta understand, this isn't just some financial disagreement. No, this is a huge, coordinated protest by people who are terrified that their entire life savings have just vanished into thin air. So the big question is, how did it even get to this point? I mean, how did this rebellion start, and why is the government freaking out about it? Because for them, this isn't just a banking problem. It's a political crisis. It challenges the one thing they promise above all else: stability. Believe it or not, it all kicked off with just a single desperate letter. A group of homebuyers at one stalled construction site posted it online, and it just went viral. Suddenly, tens of thousands of people, all in the same boat, realized they weren't alone. It united them in this shared fight against what felt like a totally broken system. Okay, to really get why people are so angry, so desperate, we need to rewind a bit. We've got to look at why property in China became more than just a place to live. It became an obsession, the absolute cornerstone of the middle-class dream. For decades, man, owning property in China has been, well, everything. It's a retirement fund. It's often a prerequisite if you want to get married. It's a direct symbol of your social status. And in an economy where there just weren't many other safe places to put your money, real estate felt like the only sure thing, the only guaranteed bet. And just look at the scale of that bet. I mean, this is wild. For the average Chinese family, a whopping 70% of their entire wealth is tied up in property. Think about that. Not stocks, not savings, real estate. It's like putting literally all of your eggs in one basket and then watching that basket just start to fall apart. Okay, so this insane demand, it basically created a gold rush for property developers, and it fueled this super high-risk, high-reward business model that, looking back now, yeah, it was a total house of cards, built on borrowed money and this idea of just endless growth. So here's the absolute key to the whole thing. The developers would take money from people for apartments that hadn't even been built yet. But, and this is the crazy part, instead of using that cash to actually build those apartments, they used it as a down payment to lease more land and start even bigger projects. It was this self-feeding cycle that could only, and I mean only, work as long as the market just kept growing and growing forever. So you might be asking, where were the regulators in all this? Well, that's the thing. The local governments, the very people who were supposed to be the watchdogs, were getting up to half their revenue from leasing land to these exact same developers. So they had a direct financial reason to just look the other way. It's a textbook case of perverse incentives, where everyone in charge was actually benefiting from the bubble just getting bigger and bigger. In this whole risky model, it was basically perfected by these corporate giants, like Evergrande. I mean, at its peak, this was the biggest real estate company in all of Asia. But under the surface, it was racking up this absolutely astronomical mountain of debt, which we now know topped $300 billion. Just staggering. Well, eventually, the music had to stop. The system just couldn't support itself anymore. The Chinese government, finally seeing this massive debt bubble for what it was, decided they had to step in and get borrowing under control. But when they tried to hit the brakes, the whole machine just seized up and ground to a halt. So back in 2020, Beijing brought in this policy they called the 3 red lines. Basically, it was designed to stop developers from taking on any more debt, but that just cut off the fuel for their whole expansion engine. A year later, by 2021, Evergrande defaults, and then by 2022, with construction sites dead silent all across the country, that's when the mortgage boycotts really began. And for millions of ordinary people, the dream just turned into an absolute nightmare. Can you imagine? You're legally required to keep paying a mortgage every single month on a concrete skeleton, a building with no windows, no walls, and no idea if your home will ever actually be finished. Their life savings were just gone, and all they had to show for it was debt. Which brings us right back to today and the multi-trillion-dollar question. What happens now? Because this isn't just about some unfinished buildings anymore. This is about the very real risk of a full-blown financial meltdown that could easily spread way beyond China's borders. Now, it's really important to understand that this is totally different from the 2008 financial crisis in the US. See, back then, when people defaulted, the banks could at least take back a physical house. But here, the Chinese banks are stuck holding loans for apartments that are literally just holes in the ground. There's often no physical asset to repossess. The collateral doesn't even exist yet. And that right there is exactly why the government is so spooked. This crisis is hitting the two main pillars of the entire modern Chinese economy at the exact same time. You've got real estate, which makes up almost a third of the country's GDP, and then you have the country's biggest companies, which are the very banks and financial institutions that are now massively at risk. So Beijing is completely trapped. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place with two awful options. Do they bail out the developers to get the homes finished and save the banks? I mean, that would basically reward all the reckless behavior that caused this mess in the first place. Or do they let them fail, teach the market a lesson, and risk a catastrophic collapse of their entire financial system? You know, after swearing up and down that they wouldn't bail anyone out, the government is now apparently looking at a rescue package of over $1 trillion. That's just to get construction started again. It's a complete 180 from their earlier stance, and it just shows you how seriously they're taking this threat. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Bailing out the market might stop the immediate bleeding, sure, but it could also just set them up for the same thing to happen all over again down the road. It leaves everyone, inside China and out, wondering, can they actually fix this crisis without breaking the entire system?